Hi everybody, welcome to this webinar session. Today we will be talking about the Microsoft Project Core Knowledge, and we will be discussing a topic which is analyzing variance and revising the project schedule with Microsoft Project. My name is Raphael Santos. I am a Microsoft Project MVP and a principal consultant here at Sensei. I will be leading this webinar, will be leading this session today. So I would like to say good morning, good afternoon, good evening, depending where you are in the world. And I would like to take this opportunity to say a big thank you for all of you watching this webinar, for dedicating a little bit of your time to learn a little bit more about Microsoft Project. I will do my best here to make this session interactive and to make this session useful. So before we get started, let me talk a little bit more about myself. I would like to make a quick introduction about myself. As I said, my name is Raphael Santos, and I am a principal consultant here at Sensei. So I am part of the delivery team, and the delivery team is responsible for engaging with clients, engaging with customers, understanding their business needs, understanding their business requirements, and converting those requirements into functionalities, into configuration within the PPM platform, being it Project Online, Project Desktop, or even Microsoft Project. In the year 2016, I have been awarded or I have been nominated as a Microsoft Project MVP, which stands for Most Valuable Professional. There are only 64 Microsoft Project MVPs in the entire world, and I am one of them. In fact, Sensei has three MVPs, and we are very proud to have this amount of MVPs in our company. So I am talking a little bit more about my personal experience and my previous experience. I have participated in projects to adopt and implement the PPM platform in three different continents. So I have been working in South America because I am from Brazil, as you might have noticed here. So I have been working mainly here in Brazil with clients here, but I have also engaged with clients in other countries here in South America. I have engaged with clients in both Argentina and Peru. I have lived 4 years of my life in Africa, in which I have been working in a company that did work with PPM implementation and project online adoption, project server adoption. So I lived basically 4 years in there. And now, since I have started working with Sensei, it's been now 2 years and a half, maybe. I have worked or I am engaged with clients that are based in North America, mainly in the United States and Canada. As I said, I live here in Brazil, and I live in the city of São Paulo, which is the largest city in the country. So, as I said, big thank you for all of you watching, and I hope that we can have some fun together for the next half an hour. I just would like to tell you and let you know a little bit about Sensei Project Solutions. So we are a Microsoft PPM Gold partner. So we are a Gold partner in the PPM competency. We have been awarded with the Partner of the Year award in the year 2014, and we have been nominated as finalists in the years 2015 and 2017. So we have a huge experience, and we are a well-recognized company. We have deployed more than 100 Microsoft PPMs across North America. We have been working with more than 1,000 project managers, team members, and as well as administrators in terms of training. So we have trained more than 1,000 people, and we are a company with a truly global impact. Just for you to have an idea, our clients are distributed over 35 countries, and we have locations mainly in the United States and Canada. We have lots of people working down under in Australia, and we have myself here representing Sensei in the South American continent in Brazil. Just to let you know what we do offer. Sensei works and helps its clients through a collection of services, solutions, training, and apps. So our business is distributed over those four pillars. And in the field of services, we do PPM consulting and we do managed support. We have a couple of different solutions to help speed up your PPM deployment, your PPM environment. Things such as the Jumpstart solution, the report packs for Project Online and Project Server, Integration Hub, Reporting Hub, the Agile solution, and also the Power BI content pack for Project Online. We have lots of different trainings for different publics, I would say, for different audiences. So we have courses, books, e-learning, on-site trainings, and etc. And we also work with apps. So Sensei has a pretty extensive cloud capability and productivity experience to provide. And between then, I can tell you, or I can point you out to the Sensei Schedule Analyzer, the Sensei Portfolio Analyzer, Sensei Report Resource Heat Maps, and Sensei Book Update. So if you are interested, if you would like to know more about our company and what we do, I encourage you to visit our website at senseiprojectsolutions.com/services or solutions or training or apps to get more information about that. If you are already a client of us, I would like to say a big thank you and we really appreciate your business. So, what's the key elements and what's the discussion that we are going to be bringing to the subject here in this webinar? So, the discussion that we are going to be taking here is based on one of our best-selling books, which is the Proactive PPM with Microsoft Project 2016 for Project Online and Project Server. This book has been written by Kenneth Steines and Dale Howard, and it's all about using Project Desktop in combination with your Project Online or Project Server environment. So it is dedicated to PMs to make their life easier and to work properly with the PPM platform. This this webinar is meant to help you understand and analyze all types of variance. So we are going to be uh, introducing ourselves to variances. We are going to understand what variances are and how to identify them, and how we can take proactive actions to take our project back on track. So all the relevant information for us is going to be applied or can be applied for if you are using Microsoft Project Desktop or Project Server, Project Online, it doesn't really matter. So the first topic that we are going to be discussing today is rescheduling incomplete work in the past. As a best practice, we should never have incomplete work in the past in our schedules, because this is going to lead us in an accurate schedule of the project, because we are going to be having or to be demonstrating an optimistic view of the schedule, but we still have tasks that are in the past. And we all know that tasks in the past, they are never going to happen just because nothing happens in the past. So when we do have tasks in the past, we need to move them forward after the status date. So then we have an opportunity to reschedule the tasks to a point in the future where when resources can complete it. So if we see here this picture, it's pretty straightforward. We have a project with a status date defined, and the status date has been defined here for, let's say, Sunday. And when I define a status date for a Sunday, I see some activities that are not completed and are in the past. So we can see here by the remaining work that we do have some tasks that have not been completed and are in the past. So as a project manager, in order to have a realistic visualization, a realistic view, and a realistic estimate of my schedule and my project, I should be moving this work that is in the past to the future. So then I can have a realistic, as I said, a realistic view of the schedule, and we can have the tasks in a period of time in which the resources can complete them. So that's all about rescheduling incomplete work in the past. This is one of the most important things that we have to do as project managers when we are doing our weekly updates in our projects. So, how do we actually reschedule the incomplete work? So, the first thing that we need to do is we have to set the status date, and we usually recommend you doing this on Friday or Saturday or Sunday. And one question that we always receive is what's the time that we should be doing this, or what's the frequency that we should be doing this, what's the frequency in which we should be setting the status date. And what we do recommend is that you do this weekly. So all the reporting periods in your company, if you are using timesheets, they are basically configured in a timesheet. So all the reporting period happens in the timesheet. So and the timesheets are organized or configured, I would say, in a weekly basis. So the same thing needs to happen for the project status date. So this is what we do. We go to project, and then we go to status date in the status area, and after that we can define, or we can set the status date for our project. So for this, during this presentation, I will be just showing you what we can do, and I will be doing some demonstrations, some quick demonstrations for us to understand how we do that. So then after we define what the status date is, we can just go ahead and update the project dialog to reschedule incomplete work in the past. So first step, define the status date. Second step, reschedule incomplete work in the past to a date in the future. So let's see how we do that in Microsoft Project. I will be switching over here to Microsoft Project. And I do have this small project here, which is a demo project that I would like to show you. So I have this develop user training for ERP. Let's say that I am coming, or I am in the end of a particular period in here, a reporting period. I have some tasks that have been completed. I have some tasks that are in progress. I have some tasks that have not been started, and I need to update them. So what I do is I go to Microsoft Project, and then I define my status date. As you can see here, my status date has been defined already. So I have the status date here available for me. And what I can do is I can just confirm that. And in order to reschedule the incomplete work that is in the past to a date in the future, I have to update my project, and I have to reschedule incomplete work to start after a particular date, which is the status date that we defined in our schedule. So when I do that, I can click OK. And then I will have a planning wizard dialog here saying that some tasks might not be moved because they have a restriction. By this restriction, I mean a constraint on them. I will click OK. And I will see that some tasks are being moved, and I can see what's happening here. So my task number 2, for example, write module 1. This task has been splitted just because I had some work in the past that has been done, but the remaining work that was not done has been moved to the next week. The same thing happened with the create sample files for module 1 task. This task had no progress on it at all. So then as soon as I reschedule the incomplete work in the past to a date in the future, this task has been entirely moved. So one thing that is important for us to understand and to note is that when we do reschedule our tasks, what has happened is not going to be touched by Microsoft Project. So we could see this in here. But what is missing or what's remaining is going to be moved to the next reporting period or for the next available date, which is a date after the project status date. So very, very nice, pretty cool, and pretty straightforward for us to get this completed. So now I am going to go back to our presentation. And then finishing this first step, which is rescheduling incomplete work in the past, we are going to be moving to the next portion of our presentation, to the next topic. So in here, we are going to be talking what's a variance. So a variance is the difference between what has been in our schedule, what's the current information in our schedule, and our original plan, which is the information that we saved into the baseline. What's very important is that before we can analyze any variance, we need to be aware, or we must be aware, that I have to have a baseline saved. So if I do not have a baseline saved, there is no way I can follow and I can track my variance. So, when you go to execution after planning everything, you must save a baseline, you must set a baseline in your project, so then you can track your variances and you can see them happening in your project. So the formula for variance calculation is something that's done in the Microsoft project itself. So the software has a mechanism that's basically calculating all the variances, and the formula is pretty straightforward. So the calculation is variance is equals to current value minus baseline value. So what I do have right now happening in my schedule minus what I planned when I saved the baseline. So if we see here, for example, taking this example as looking at the work variance, we have a current work, for example, in a particular project or in a particular task, which is 60 hours. And the baseline says that we have planned 40 hours. So when I do the current value, the current work, which is 60 minus what I planned in the baseline, which is 40, I have 20 hours of variance, which means that it's bad because when I have a positive variance, the meaning for that is that the project is either late in terms of schedule, for example, or over budget. If we took another example here, we have a current work in our schedule which is 32 hours, and the baseline work says that we have planned that to be 40 hours. So if that's true, the work variance is going to be defined by current work, which is 32, minus baseline work, which is 40. So I will have a minus 8 hours. And then when we have negative variance, this is good just because it means that we are early in terms of schedule or we are under budget. So that's two examples I would like to show you in terms of how the variance is calculated and how it works in Microsoft project. So let me go here and show how we can track, or what this is a common question, I would say, that people are always asking, or they always have questions about it. And the question is, for the variances, which are the variances that we do have in our schedule? So what does Microsoft Project calculate? So Microsoft Project calculate 5 types of variances. It calculates the start variance, the finish variance, work variance, cost variance, and also the duration variance. So all of them are calculated automatically by the software. So every time you set a baseline, those informations are, or this information is recorded, and then you can compare, and then the system does the calculation for the variance automatically for all of them. And this allows us to track minor variances as well if needed. So we can have a budget cost and budget work variance. We might have a fixed cost and fixed cost accrual variance. We have deadline start and deadline finish variances as well if we need to, but this all requires a custom column for us to track the minor types of variance. So what we are going to be concentrating here during this presentation uh, are the five core variances that are calculated by Microsoft Project. So the next step is, okay, now that I know which is a variance and what are the kinds of variances that we have in Microsoft Project, where can I see them? So you have a couple of options in here, and we are going to be seeing some of them in our presentation, in our demonstration. The first one is the tracking Gantt. So the tracking Gantt is a visualization, or it's a view in Microsoft Project that is putting its effort or putting its focus on the schedule slippage of in the schedule slippage portion of the schedule. Then we have the work table, we have the cost table. So the work is where we can see the variances for work. The cost is where we can see the variances for cost. And also we have a variance table, which is an out-of-the-box table that allows us to display start and finish variances. So basically it focuses on schedule instead of work and cost, for example. So for work and cost, we do have their own tables, but we can focus on dates, and if we are focusing on dates, we can look at the variance table. And one important point in here that I would like to let you aware of is that Microsoft Project doesn't have a default visualization for duration variance. So if I am trying to see, or if I would like to see the duration variance, somehow I need to create a custom table or a custom view to see that information. So let's go back here to our schedule, and let's see where we can find some of the variances. So the first one we talked about is the tracking Gantt. So the tracking Gantt is a view in Microsoft Project, and what we can do is we can right click here this area of the views, and then I have my tracking Gantt. So if I click on tracking Gantt, what's going to happen is the bars are going to be changed in the Gantt bar, in the Gantt chart, and then I can see three main elements. So the red bar in the Gantt chart is going to indicate my critical tasks. So the red bar is always putting its focus on the critical tasks in my schedule. The blue bars is going to basically, the blue bars are in there for us to identify the tasks that are not critical. So all the non-critical tasks in our schedule are going to be identified or are going to be displayed using the blue bar in the Gantt chart. And also we do have the gray bars, and the gray bars mean basically the baseline that we have set. So as soon as I have variances and as soon as I am slipping in terms of tasks, I can see the discrepancy between the gray bars and the other bars, the blue ones and the red ones. We can easily identify the variances, and we can easily identify the impact. So in this case here, for this particular project, when we reschedule the project and we moved the incomplete work in the past to a date in the future, we are seeing that the impact is happening, or is causing the tasks to sleep a little bit. But this is not impacting the end of the project, just because all of the tasks that have been moved are tasks that are non-critical tasks. So we can see the discrepancy between the blue bars and the gray bars, but there is no discrepancy between the red bars and the gray bars, which is, somehow okay for me. I know that I will be having some delays here, but the changes that I made are not going to be delaying my project at all. Another way for us to see variances, if we are not using, for example, the tracking Gantt, is going here to view, and then we can click on tables, and I have my variance table. As I said, the variance table is going to put its focus on dates. So we have start, finish, baseline start, and baseline finish, and we can see the variances in terms of start and finish dates. So we have start variance and finish variances. As I said, we do not have finish variance for the entire project. We have a couple of variances here because we have rescheduled our tasks, some of the tasks, so we can identify that there are some variances in here, but they are not affecting the end of the project. And another way that we can identify variances is if we move on to cost variance. Oh, sorry, to cost table, not cost variance, to cost table, because we can see what has been planned here in the baseline. We can see what is the total cost, what's current. The best way to describe that would be the current cost, and then we see that the current cost is $27,450,000, and the baseline has been defined as $26,650,000, and we have a variance of $800. The same thing is going to happen for work. So if we go here to work, we can see that the current work is 500 hours, 504 hours, and the baseline has been defined as 488 hours, so we have a variance of 16 hours. So this is the way that we can identify the variances in our projects. So let me go back here to our presentation, and let's move on to the last topic of today's presentation. Here we are going to quickly discuss what's a plan review. So a plan review is the process of receiving all the tasks, receiving all the information, processing them, and then revising the schedule to bring it back on track against its original goals and objectives. So as a project manager, as project managers, we should always be taking care and pay attention to this. We should always try to keep our projects on track, and when something goes wrong, one of our jobs or one of our activities is to go here and try to uh, bring it back on track. So there are only a few methods that we can use for revising a plan, and I will just go quickly for which I will just go quickly in each one of them. So we might add resources to help reduce the time of effort-driven tasks. We might increase the units value of a part-time assignment. So if a resource is working, for example, 50% of his time, we can increase this a little bit. So then the resource can put more effort on the task and bring it back on track. We can schedule overtime work, or we can remove or reduce lag time on task dependencies to have them better scheduled or to have them back on track. A warning that we should be just sharing here is that any method of plan revision can cause even more variance. So unfortunately, we might have a situation in which we might have more variance based upon the changes that we make. So as project managers, we should use this system carefully to understand what's going on, try to bring the project back on track, and see what's going to be the result on this. So let me go here back to our schedule, and I will just do a quick demonstration to you real quick. So let's say that I am here in this task, which is the right module 2, and I know that this task has a variance, right? Let's see what's the variance in terms of the dates. So we have a 4-day variance. And the reason is because this task was in the past and we have to reschedule this task to a date in the future. So let's say that I would like to bring this task on track and I would like to put another person to be working with the original person here so that they can kind of split the work in between them. If that's something that I can do for this particular task, I can go here to details, and in the details page I can see this task form. So my window is now split in two. I will change here my visualization, right click this gray area and selecting work, and what I can do is, since this is a fixed work task, which means an effort driven task, I can add another person here. So let's say that I am going to add Calvin to do this task, and I will use 100% of his units. As soon as I do it, we can see that this task is taking 10 days originally to be completed, but as soon as this is an effort-driven task, I can split the work in between the two resources that I have, and I can click OK. And as soon as I do that, we can easily see that this task has been reduced to 5 days because the work is being divided across the two resources that are assigned to the task. And by doing that, if I go here to the Gantt chart, we can see that now I am I'm okay actually with the task, because here the gray bar shows me what has been planned, and now I am in fact delivering the task before what has been planned originally. We can see here the task finish variance is going to be -1 day. So the task started with 4 days of variance, but I was able to put this task back on track, and now the task has a -1 day of variance. So we were able to, just rescue this task and put it back on track. So as I said, there are some few other options. I just would like to show you one of them here, so then you can try to understand and test this in your own projects as well. So now we are 1 minute over time here. I would like to open the window for questions and comments. Let's see if we do have a question here. Oh yes, we do have a question here coming from Susan. She is asking if we can make this presentation available. Yes, we will make this presentation available, Susan. Please do not forget to send me an email at raphael.santos at senseiprojectsolutions.com, and I can show you the links in which you can download the content for this presentation. Uh, we do have another question here that comes from Susan. She asks how frequently we should be setting the status date for our projects. And our recommendation is that you set the status date and do all of your planning and revisioning weekly. So what we do here at Sensei is that on Friday, end of the day, we submit all of our timesheets, and then we do revision in of our schedules. That's the way we work with that. All right, folks. I see here that there are no more questions coming on. So as I said, big thank you for dedicating some of your time to watch this presentation. I hope that you have enjoyed it. I hope that the presentation was useful for you. And please stay tuned for new webinars that we are going to be conducting in the next month. Thank you, and I'll be talking to you soon. Bye bye.